Welcome to the University of Tartu Game Jam. So this was another year that we've made this wonderful game jam for an opportunity for the students of University of Tartu to gather here in the Delta building to have some time, particularly close to 40 hours, to complete a fully fledged game. And as per usual, we align this game jam with the game jam of Ludum Dare, this time for the number 58, and for the theme it was collectors. So our aspiring game developers had just 40 hours to come up with a complete idea that fits the theme collector. So we'll see what the teams did. This time around we had over 100 people gathering here in the Delta building. So this is the biggest game jam that we've done thus far, and collectively they've made 26 games. So we had 26 teams making their games, and we had 26 submissions throughout the period of 40 hours. So that's quite a lot of games for the 40 hours that the aspiring game developers were crunching out the code and the artwork and everything. As per usual, we're going to go over a few of the select games that we can hear on the stream, and then some of the teams will have a chance to talk about their games themselves. So let's get going with some of the games that I thought were pretty good. So first off, let's start with... So Down in the Dumps, made by Una Compoit. So quite interesting game. I quite enjoyed playing this. In the sense that as we get into the game, I'll go over as well the why I like this game in particular. It hit the sort of perfect note for me as a game developer myself as well, in a style that I think is a really cool style to make games at. It creates a kind of unique blend of 2D and 3D, so that's quite what I enjoyed, at least from the looks of it. So let's see if we can... Seem like we can full screen this. So it doesn't go into full screen, but so for this game, what I quite enjoyed was the integration of 2D and 3D assets here. I think that creates a really unique blend. I love it as a game player, where this kind of unique blend of 2D and 3D is combined, creates this sort of interesting, visually appealing game. Just kind of love it. So let's go over what you do. So there is a story as well, that you're playing as this rat and you need to find valuable things. And we have some roaches protecting their valuable trash. So we'll see if we can find what that's about. So let's see if we can. So apparently we need to go inside these bins. So let's see. Yeah, even in here, I think the artwork is really nice. I love the atmosphere that it creates in the game. Definitely very interesting style to take with the combination of 2D and 3D. So you have the movement of a 3D game, but only assets for the 2D, which is quite interesting blend. And it creates a lot of interesting possibilities to make puzzles. So for this one, the atmosphere is great. And I think that the story is great, but I think the roaches here as well could have, added a little bit of funk, a little bit of chaos. It would have been nice to see. But so we can collect some stuff here. Let's explore this a little bit if there's anything else here. So let's gather some stuff and then let's head out. Also the fact that you can see these 3D variant of the assets here as well, that you can move between these 2D assets in 3D space. To me, that's really visually appealing, and that's the sort of game that I've been really wanting to make myself as a game developer as well, because I think that creates a really unique atmosphere. And if you combine that with what's done here is kind of a scenery that gives you a good atmosphere, then it will provide a very visually appealing spectacle to enjoy. So we got some of the stuff. Let's see. So apparently you can only get the maximum of 2 stuff and 2 things from the trash bins. So let's see. Alright, let's see. So yeah, so we got a lot of stuff. We have some money left over. This sort of artwork here as well. It's very nice artwork. So the art really combines with the storytelling of just this kind of messy feeling. And this is really adds a lot of atmosphere to the game. And so apparently we're progressing now with the addition of another rat here. So let's see what he's saying. The Arabella. So lighter, very interesting concept. So a little bit of crazy rat. So he's talking about very good friends with the worms. So let's see. Let's see what we can find in the dumpster. So start seems to be the same. At least the atmosphere of the dumpster seems to be the same. But it does seem like the game level changes. But the collectibles seem to be staying the same. I wonder if the cost of those will be the same as well. So I guess let's get an earring as well. And since we can only get our 2 stuff, or 2 things, I quite what I think in this sort of game, it would have been good if you can drop stuff, because again, it's already really fun to play and collect stuff, but also I would love to kind of this repetition of finding things and potentially having a chance to drop them. So not earning as much money this time around, and the rusty spoon being really good. So apparently my children are starving, so a good storyline. And then we have some raccoon gangsters. So a very cool artwork with the progression of the dumpsters. So this is quite fun to see. Really adds to the atmosphere of the messy game world. Our turf. This is our turf. All right, let's see. So nothing is really happening that much in regards to these. There is a. So can we enter this last part, or is it just bugged out? So let's go through this dialogue again. Or will they disappear? No, so. Apparently the last bit isn't really doable here, unless there's something that I've missed. There's also some glitching with collisions here, but it's a small thing. So again, I quite enjoyed this style of game. So there is no UI per se to modify any of the options, which I think is quite a shame in terms of volume levels and stuff. People do want to usually edit it, but I guess resolution and the full screen aspect really doesn't matter if you do have a WebGL game. Usually these things are full screenable. Don't really know why that is, but again, I really quite enjoy combining 2D and 3D artwork to create this kind of uniform style of gameplay, and especially adding some cool, I think, particle effects or some trails to some of the stuff. Then you can create a really unique atmosphere with this sort of style. So this is one that really caught my eye in terms of the artistic choices that have been made. All right, so this was Una Compoit and Down in the Dumps. I think it was quite well made. I'm not sure why the last level isn't playable, but these things can happen during game jams as well when you have a very time-constrained game development cycle. Some stuff can be left undone, so that might happen to anybody. So next, let's see a little of an old school style of game. I quite like the UI on this, the UI design. I think it's quite the fun choice to go like this. So let's put it to full screen for maximum. So apparently we're calling on the Sankerman. So yeah, we have some windows, we have some. I like this a lot when you have inside the game you have settings menu like this, even though it seems to be like a part of the game. So I would have also liked if this was clickable, but again, we'll see. So it's quite straightforward game. There's no back and forth. Apparently, I think these are the viruses, so we're supposed to get the files since it says files recovered. So let's see. I would have liked a more snap movement myself, but again, it's a kind of a game design choice what you want to have in terms of the movement. You can have a snap movement, or the movement can really be made into. But I like the really retro look and the retro feel of this sort of game. I think it's quite nice. So let's. So apparently now we are flying back up. And if I do hit the viruses, then we lose some of the files we've collected. Again, the more snappy move, it feels like the further away that the mouse is, the snappier the movement gets. Also, maybe doing the movement just with A and D would have been really nice in terms of control factor. The game feels quite nice to play, and I really like the old school aesthetic of the Windows 95 sort of menus here. So we can upgrade some of our stuff. I see. So we can go down deeper, and then we can have a better. I see. So the snappy movement comes later. So it is a game design choice that the movement is kind of slower in the beginning. So that's definitely good. I probably would have added up and down movement as well to this, because right now it's really well made. But again, you can really move up and down to catch something that's still on your screen. But again, I like the design. I really like the design of the enemies and the events that you have in here, and the fact that you can get progressively harder in terms of the upgrades and stuff. I really like games where you can upgrade a lot of stuff. It adds a lot of replayability if you can manage to make it, because of the fact that you have these replayable systems, and your upgrades kind of extend your game. Even if it's a really simple core loop, then the upgrades will still make it so that the game is quite much more fun. A little bit of bugs here, but again, every bug is kind of expected from game jam games. There's not going to be a single perfect game jam game. That's just how game jams are, because of the constrained time window. Then I want free RAM. Give it to me. I guess the upgrades and the initial dropping could have been made a little bit faster. It takes quite a long time to really get playing the game, but it's a great fun game. I like the throwback to the old Windows helper Clippy. That's definitely a good throwback. I would have. If these buttons would have worked, I would have been really impressed. I really like the Windows 95 aesthetic. Definitely something that, growing up, it was a thing to see Clippy, as well as the older style of Windows UI. But all in all, I think it's a really good game. And then you can really upgrade your stuff, which adds a lot of replayability. So we'll do like one more run here, and then we will also check out some of the other games that we had in this game jam. So I've tried to pick some of the more uniquely aesthetic games, in the sense that they're very different in the style that they've been developed at. So this is kind of the old school vibe. We had the 2D and 3D combination, which was something that I quite enjoy. But all in all of the games had their artists make a lot of good art. So everything that I've seen is quite impressive from the artists, and the fact that the programmers have been able to implement majority of the art into the games as well. That's really nice to see. I've just, since we can't go through everything here, I've just chosen some of the more uniquely styled ones to kind of show you what's capable and what can be done with the constraint of what we had for this game jam, which is the 40 hours that the game developers had to go for. And of course, at some point, people do need to sleep during this 40-hour period as well, because otherwise it's really hard to make a game. If you just go for 40 hours straight, you will run out of ideas and it will be really slow progress. So I do always, whenever I'm participating in game jams myself as well, try to find the time to get some good sleep, because it helps a lot in avoiding bugs and really creating these systems which are enjoyable to play, and also gives you a chance to kind of find new ideas that might improve either graphically or playstyle wise the experience that the players get. But this, I like the throwback to the old icons, the folders, and the windows. Definitely something of an enjoyable experience. So we'll see if what happens when I go back to the main frame now after a few runs. So I'm guessing this is the bar that. Okay. So yeah. So this is how deep I go, and then I'm coming back up. So quite an enjoyable experience, quite a fun game to play. And the old style aesthetics definitely are something that caught my eye a lot, and throws back to the older style of games as well. So quite a nice game to play. Next up, we will go with another style of game, which is Border Point by Mangumos. That was one of the more interesting games that I thought was in the Game Jam as well. I, in general, really like the 3D aspect to the games, so I love when a game is made in 3D because it adds a lot of extra graphical fidelity that you can add, or graphical style, so you can really stylize the games really a lot. And the atmosphere in this game is absolutely fantastic. So you have this fantastic bunker that you're staying in, which is I think the detail paid in designing this is quite a feat, because I know level design isn't usually the forefront in people's thoughts in the game jams. It's usually the how do I make my game look really fantastic graphic-wise, or how do I make all of these mechanics into my game. But this game has its mechanics, but also the fact that you have this atmosphere which paints the story of what's happening really well. So you're kind of a border control agent. You have you're in 1992. You have this calendar. The postman is saying that you need to make sure that you don't let anybody pass who doesn't have correct papers. So you have to pay attention to what's happening. So let's check out some of the papers here. So for example, date of expiry is here in the past, so I have to send it back. But it's a quite simple concept, and I think the game loop is really nice in terms of you just check and approve or disapprove. It's quite a simple game, and the atmosphere adds a lot. So, and again, it kind of combines with these people. It combines the 2D and 3D aspects. Also, there's not a lot of design that needs to be done outside of this bunker, in the sense that because a player can't move anyway, then we can't really go and see what's outside. So just having this kind of a backdrop for both of these adds this atmosphere. And then also the kind of the fog effect is a quite nice touch. So this is again an old passport, since the date is in October. So I will go a few of these here. Again, it's an older one. So, and we do earn some of the money on the top right that we can see for the work that we do for this border control. So everything seems to be correct here. So yeah, so you're letting people through and you're pushing them back. I quite like the game loop, even though there's not a lot to talk about in terms of complexity, but it's still the atmosphere, and really just checking some of the data that's in these documents is quite the fun touch. For example, date of birth being over 100 years ago. So, but apparently this person was 120, so that's good. So some of these quirks with the date of birth and stuff can be interesting. So for here, it's an expired one. And then there are random events happening as well, which I'm gonna try to get to it here at one point or another. And it feels like they were quite randomly happening. So we'll see if we can get a pop of any of those. But mostly it's just checking the expiry dates, checking the names and stuff like that. So you are tried to being assassinated. It's quite an interesting concept, but people still come when I have the protection on, so we can just be protected in our bunker, still check the documents. But yeah, I really like the atmosphere here. So we have the mafia as well. Moral choices. So we'll see. So you do have to pay the rent and the food, and so utilities. Not sure what happened here with the mathematics though. These are in krones and this is in euros, so interesting one. And then we also have euros being less than krones if they're being converted somehow, so very interesting concept here. But all in all, I think the atmosphere is really good. I quite enjoyed the game loop, really simple. And it can be expanded on a lot with different levels and stuff down the line. So I think this is a very nicely scoped game for a game jam in terms of atmosphere, in terms of the feelings that you have with the random-based events as well. It's quite an enjoyable experience to play, and really definitely adds a lot to what you can get out of a game. All right, so let's see some of the other sort of games. So we did have some of the more interesting games as well in terms of just the 2D styles and stuff. And we had a couple of Unreal Engine ones that could have had a lot of potential, but in terms of execution, they weren't fully finished, so I'm not going to go over them. But we'll go over here the Literators by Precious Pizza. So I like it when a volume slider is there. By default, as a game player, I usually enjoy it when it's either down or halfway through, because if you create the sound in your computer and you have different settings than what I have, then a lot of the games nowadays, what they do is they have this great soundtrack that will blow your speakers the moment you play the game. So you can't really enjoy the sound after that if your speakers or headphones are not working after it. So I usually like it when a volume slider is down low, but that's just personal preference from the experiences that I've had with the game soundtracks. But we'll play here. So essentially, you have to collect. Again, this game kind of also has this aspect of having 2D aspect in a 3D game as well with the paw. So that's quite an interesting one. But in terms of gameplay, I would have liked to have seen at least the animations here. And then of course, you can get caught. And there's a story behind why you're doing all of this, is that you're trying to find treasure while you were kind of sleeping and dreaming. But all in all, having some sort of animation system would have done wonders for this game. T-pose usually isn't the most enjoyable thing to watch. And also maybe the size of the spatula could have been more realistic as well for the size of the person. But again, it's quite an interesting game. You're trying to just explore and find some of the treasures. And the atmosphere with the cat overwatching you, kind of running around the litter box, is also, I think, quite a funny aspect. I quite enjoy the atmosphere when it has a specific meaning, when it has a specific tone to the games. Definitely has to fit in with the theme that you have, and for this, of course, you're collecting all the treasures from a litter box. So that's also a kind of interesting twist on how to interpret the collector's theme. But yeah, you're just kind of trying to find out. In terms of gameplay, I think the game loop could have been quite fun, and it could have had quite a lot of expansion in terms of what could have been done with some of the systems implemented. Again, animations was one of them, but also having different levels with different style of letterbox, different amounts of treasures would have done this game wonders. Also, I think just adding a small bit of indicator on which way the closest treasure would be would really help, because right now you're kind of blindly running around hoping for the best. And in that sense, it's kind of, you can't really use your knowledge of the game world or really get any help. So you just kind of have to randomly stumble around until you get some of these treasures. And I'm not sure if the treasure is always there or if it's just randomly being spawned as you collect something up. In that sense, also having the radar would have been a little bit of a help. And just maybe a weak one if you're getting close, then point the player in a little bit of the right direction. Otherwise, you will start to do what I did, which is just going zigzag like this. And then the game loop isn't what it's supposed to be from a game designer's view. So you want the players to kind of run around, have fun. And also maybe making the cat events a little more often between trying to find the treasure, but then during the treasure digging up, maybe having those events happen less often is something that could have also worked wonders for this game. So you can win, there's no win screen, there's just the exit button, and then you can play again. So quite a little nice gameplay loop, and the atmosphere as well, once again, pretty good. In terms of level design, what I would have loved to see is a little bit more emphasis put on level design. I know it's really hard to do, since good level design takes a really long time to really kind of make. But it's one of those underrated things that if the level design isn't there, it provides for a game atmosphere that's less enjoyable than having less mechanics and having a better game scene. Just because the atmosphere that you create. The same way that the gameplay loop in the first game that I showed, where you're running around as a mouse, was quite enjoyable in the sense that you have this atmosphere, even though the game loop is quite simple. You're running around collecting a few things. But just how the level is built is what adds to this atmosphere. So I think here, having a little bit of a more design for the litter box, and maybe having some sort of hiding mechanic from the cat as well, it would have added so much to the final product. But all in all, the game works, and it's a nice gameplay loop. So, and that's quite well done. So we'll take a few more games here. So we'll see. So this has nice objective description in the beginning. You are a fake tax collector who wanders through town, scatters people taxes without them realizing you're a con man. Guards know who you are and will chase you when they see you. Fulfill the quota and leave the town without getting caught. Sprint and interact, WASD. So it can be played with just one hand. The movement system is quite snappy. There's a turning speed, which is interesting. So I'm not sure if there's a difference between the persuade and threaten mechanics. But it seems like at least for the first level here, it's quite simple. What we'll do is, and then we're supposed to leave the town. So not a whole lot of guards, but I guess the next level, yeah. So this is what I was kind of presuming. So if you have the core gameplay loop down, it creates for a good atmosphere. I can definitely see the hand-drawn assets. Maybe not having the guards charge at you while you're mid-collection, but that is something that can be, of course, a design choice as well. So it's you're taking this risk of. But now apparently I cannot collect anything again. So we'll see if this is a. So yeah. So after getting caught, you can't collect anything anymore. So these things can happen during game jams. I think the game could have had a lot of potential here, but this sort of bug is sort of thing that will break the game. Also, there's no leave mechanic, so or if you click leave and then continue, then you're getting caught, but there's still no leave. So, but yeah, so these things can happen during game jams as well. That's usually why during game jams you want to test your games out a lot and consistently test them. So in the later stages, you don't find out this sort of things can happen where getting caught will break your game for all the future runs. This is kind of a bad aspect of game jams. You don't have that much time, but you still need to find the time somewhere to do the simple testing. I think the atmosphere is good in terms of the art here. The houses can be clearly made out. I think in terms of artistic and atmospheric choices, it could have been quite more interesting to actually make these trees and bushes stand out a little bit more. Maybe not do a top-down, but semi 2.5D, which is what some of the games do as well, or isometric view, and really have it on a side where you can see some of the houses and see the interactions with the people. Though I definitely do understand that it adds a lot of complexity in the game development phase, where you need to have these animations or the sprites and tiles. So, but since we cannot really get some more money, we are gonna leave town, since they know who we are now. Also, I think kind of an interesting touch would have been to make this kind of leave town, be back to the main menu, or lead you back to the main menu, because there's currently no way to actually close the game out. So definitely also very interesting concept. It's sad about the bug, but again, just to show you that these things happen during game jams. It's an inevitability that some of the games do break, and that you can't test everything. So this game as well, I think quite a good concept. The replayability factor was really there. What I personally thought for a second was that initially running this, my computer was broken because of the art style. Definitely can be a choice to do this sort of really, really low resolution art style. If it is something that you consciously make, which seems to be the case here because everything is so. But again, for this sort of 3D game, I think also having this as in a higher quality would have been really awesome. So essentially what you're doing, I quite enjoy this. So you're giving the kind of directions that you can...
Tere tulemast Rahamaale! Siin saad sa mängida mitut lahedat.
So, quite a nice game sound design. Though the clipping is an interesting factor, but again, it kind of dives into the rest of the atmosphere here, which I quite find funny. Is it's everything is low resolution, it's low quality, and I think that's it's a known choice here. We also have so. Again, for this sort of game, I would have liked to have seen a volume slider. Again, for the same reason that we have here, is it's quite loud. So you really want to be able to turn the volume at least a little bit. And maybe when you're digging out the treasure, then also not getting the sound effect would be a little bit better. But it's quite a fun experience. And then you also, there is hidden dangers here. If I can just find some. So you are in a minefield, and there is a story behind it as well, which is quite nice. So basically, you're on a minefield. So I'm not aware if there was a way to find the mine. So You do have the sound effect of the metal detector being.
tere tulemast Rahamaale.
And then you can sell your stuff, and then you can buy upgraded equipment, which we can't do just yet. So we need to go and scour the world for some more treasure. So, so I quite like funny sound effect, funny style of game, and then we have our previous buddy. So somewhere in here there was a mine as well. So again, the clipping is an interesting sound choice, and then we have. It's a nice definitely has a lot of fun elements. So this is kind of what we talk about when we're talking about adding atmosphere to your game, or adding kind of this kind of specific design choices to your games, is that if you're going for this kind of a funny atmosphere, it has to be a deliberate choice. So everything has to tie into this. It's not something that you just kind of throw in there as a kind of one stop. But you need to have this as a consistent theme throughout your game. So even though you could make this into a very serious, very heavy militaristic atmosphere sort of game, there is this kind of fun aspect.
tere tulemast Rahamaale. Siin saad.
So you can, get these sort of sound effects on every stage of your game. So, and then we can also upgrade our equipment here. Also, what I've that when we're collecting the escape, the shop would have stopped. But the kind of the style of the so apparently you can get stuck there on the slopes. So yeah, again, definitely, it was something that I had a good laugh as well with, is because of the sound effects. But again, you have to make it into your core design. It can't be something that you throw in there as a kind of a, let's try this one thing on like one aspect. It's a consistent theme throughout the game. So just to show that you don't need all of the free assets that you can find online to actually make your sound design, you can also utilize what you already have. So definitely in my design something that creates this fun atmosphere that you can really use to kind of sell your idea much further. Now, unfortunately, I didn't have enough time to check what is at the end, if there is anything at the end here. We can see, we can run around. So this is quite a complex level design, and this is what I was saying before with the level design, is that if you have a core gameplay loop that's quite simple, as it is here, where you're just running around and you can, do this, then what you have is a really simple gameplay loop, but your levels can become really in how you generate a whole lot of stuff into them. And this provides for this replayability factor. It draws in the players and lets them kind of do this thing over and over again, where you have the chance to play it, you have the chance to laugh. And then this kind of all repeats itself until you basically, what you can do is you can get, your upgraded gear that you wanted to have and all of this. So in terms of atmospheric choices, in terms of gameplay and sound design choices, I think this is one really good example how you can throw fun elements into a serious game and still make it really enjoyable experience. So in my book, that was one of the funny games. Again, everything has to tie down here. if they would have had this really HD graphics, if they would have had the HD menu, they could have not more than likely pulled off this clipped sound, really low quality sound effects, because it doesn't tie into the atmosphere of the game. But they have everything set up in kind of this funny way. So this all ties in together to kind of be a whole. So that's was quite a nice game to really play and enjoy and have a good laugh with the sound effects and everything. So, and again, huge replayability factor to this game because of this loop of you die, you spawn, you do this run again, and then you upgrade your gear. Again, the upgrades add a whole lot to the games. So if you have, as a player, a goal that you're working towards, it adds this kind of a fixed, I want to achieve this now, so I'll try to run the game again. So definitely a fantastic game, and I had a good laugh about it. So just like seems to be the theme this time around, where a whole lot of thought hasn't been put onto the game menus. This is something that's quite new, but usually for the game jam games as well, what you want to have is some sort of menu to have a chance for whoever's playing to either lower the settings or to basically exit your game. So if you have a .exe, which is a full window game, then you want to have some way of actually getting out of that game in some form of or another. So let's see if I can. We'll take one more game here. So this is one game taken at random. So the before games, I really had chosen to show you some of the aspects and how you can combine everything together. So we'll just go through this because I did have didn't have the chance to play all of the games during the 2 hours or 1.5 hours here before starting the stream. So we have collect 5 items to complete your wardrobe. You need to spin for them. Spinning costs money, so we're gambling our money away, which is also a way of actually really enticing the player into replayability. So if you have these random rolls, then it is a gameplay choice where you can have a lot of replayability factor. So we have a feeding mechanic. So throwing jokes here, that's also quite a fun way to do, but it has to be a really tasteful jokes. So again, going back to the fact that that everything needs to tie into this atmospheric. The art is great. I think the atmosphere is great. I don't really see the gold factor, so I can see the codes here. And he was just out. Oh, there we go. So let's see. Let's gamble the hard-earned money away. So just a random chance. I'm not sure if this will. So in terms of the mechanics of the rolls, I think there would have been a better mechanic to implement this. Right now it's kind of random and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So we can just click this, and I'm not sure if it will trigger some sort of win condition, if ever. So again, getting this complete. So in terms of gameplay, in terms of gameplay, what you can do is there's a couple of types of randomness to video games. So there is a complete randomness and there is a semi-randomness. So semi-randomness is something that will entice the player to feel like it's random, but also give the player a reward once in a while to keep the player going. If you have this complete randomness, which is essentially, there's a chance, if you have, let's say, 1 in 10 chance to do something, to win something, then there is a chance that you can do 100 rolls without the win condition happening. So this is usually something that's something you want to prevent, because of the fact that it will dissuade the player from trying your game. Though I like how the outfit changes once you're equipping the wardrobe. I think having a different mechanic other than the spinning mechanic here would have been really awesome. So a lot of the themes this game this time around were mini games. A lot of games made games that have mini games incorporated into them. So what you essentially have is you have game inside of a game, and that can definitely provide a lot of replayability factor if you design your mini games correctly. Because what it provides is that you can have the player play these mini games while trying to complete some broader objectives. So there's variety in what the player can do, but having this sort of one mechanic only, which is, it seems to be random, not semi-random, can kind of dissuade the player from just continuing forward, especially if it's something that they can't influence. So we'll see, we can just kind of spam the spin button here. And I'm not sure if we are gonna see if we can win anything here, so we can just keep spamming it now that we have enough coins. So every once in a while you can, it does seem to be cash money chains. So let's see if we can get to a point where this is all kitted out. So let's see, can we get the last 2 items as well, since this runs to 5? So again, throwing in the jokes is quite a funny way to go about the game. So if you're really just paying attention to the spinning and what you're getting, then in terms of atmospheric choices, it doesn't tie into the game that much, because you're not really paying attention to what's being said here. You're paying attention to here and here. So while the other games had really a specific point where they were drawing your attention, this game kind of misses that point, where you are trying to direct the player into focusing on certain elements of your game to kind of draw in the player to specific details that's happening on the scene. What I like though is the fact that the center here is really, so we have the pizza bringer here as well, and then we get the top hat as well. So now that we have what is now essentially 6 things, apparently it doesn't trigger the win, even though if you have 5 things. So again, kind of an interesting choice. What I do like about games like this is that they have potential, though resource management is always a kind of a funny one, because the player usually will want to take care of the resources more than actually playing your core gameplay loop. So this is something that's also really hard to pull off with the bigger games. Less so, or even more so with a game jam game, where essentially just trying to manage resources, and that provides a whole lot of other complexity to the game as well. although I like the customizability, I think there could have been a really heavy focus on the customizability of this character here, and then having some sort of minigame where you can run around with the character to collect coins or to complete some levels, to a platformer, very simple one. There would have been a whole lot of mechanics you could have added with the customized character, and then it would have been a much more enticing gameplay loop. It would have provided for an experience where player feels like the progress really matters, and less has to do with resource management. Though you could have also, what you can do is you can incorporate this resource management into your level design. So if you do a simple platformer, you can still have all of these fun and the food and getting clean and having a good sleep. You can have those sort of systems in your level design as well when you're, for example, doing a puzzle platformer, where you can, have food scattered across the level, and then you can have entertainment sort of things scattered across the level. So when you're searching for coins, you also need to kind of manage the resources, but then again, really a lot of care has to be shown to how you manage those resources, because the player more than likely will be annoyed to try to get those resources to stay up so they can really go over the level and try to catch catch as many coins as possible for these kind of minigame factors. Also, maybe not for the spinning mechanic, but also having a shop mechanic would have been really awesome. So you have customizability, and you do have this shop where you can buy stuff from, and you can tie it into this customizability. So I go through a level, I collect as many coins as I can, then I come back to the shop to upgrade my equipment. So kind of the same idea that the Minesweeper game had, where you have this sort of system where the kind of replayability factor doesn't come from a really complex game loop, but it comes from the fact that I want to now, let's say, get a really good cosmetic like a hat, dress, or glasses, chains. And then once you create the core systems for those, it's very easy to incorporate other kind of styles of cosmetics into this and really make it feel like the player can achieve certain aspects, and it really draws in the replayability factor. So what if I want to now then collect everything that you have in the game? It makes for a kind of a game where you can really customize as much as possible. So I think definitely there could have been some gameplay choices here, which could have kind of fit the theme a little bit better, as well as really showcased the customizability factor of this character, and that would have made for a really cool experience. So yeah, these were kind of some of the games that I had a look at before, and I think there's different aspects to highlight in each case. They're very unique games, all on their own. But all in all, they're kind of enjoyable experiences all around. There's definitely fitting into the theme for all of these games. The artistic choices we saw were different. So we had a complete 2D game. We had this kind of a mix of 2D and 3D. We had a top-down 2D. And then we had these just 3D games. So a whole lot of different design choices went into these different games. And this is really, really cool to see at the end of the game jam all the time, is what can people come up with this one word or one sentence stuff. So yeah, that was really cool to see from people's side. So all in all, I think it's really testament to how many great and wonderful game designers, level designers, art designers, sound designers that gather here to create this game in this kind of symbiosis of a team. And they really come together to create this kind of unique experience to the player. And I think that's something that really showcases these game jam games a lot, is what the players and the designers achieve in tandem throughout this 40-hour period. So that's a short introduction from me from the games. And then we'll see with the rest of the ceremony what we have coming up. We had some prizes that were talked about in the beginning as well. So all in all, I think a huge congratulations to everybody that made it this far and produced a game that went into this kind of leaning into the collector theme and really got there in the end, that produced a full-fledged product. So thank you.